Hi, greetings, fellow Arrow fans. We'll look at Arrow Season 2 now continues on with the penultimate episode of the season, Streets of Fire. Oliver and Laurel trapped beneath rubble due to the ceiling collapse he caused in the last episode. They are separated, Laurel with Oliver's bow and arrows. Laurel uses one of his explosive arrows to break out of the debris. Diggle and Isabel fight, with her clearly having the upper hand. However, Felicity shows up and hits Isabel with the van so that Diggle is able to escape. Isabel, however, isn't dead as Isabel gets up. Felicity then begins to drive away. Quentin continues to fight one of Slade's men back at the police station, where a number of officers have been taken out. Quentin sets off 3 grenades, killing him. Sebastian Blood is trying to convince the people of Starling, including Kate Spencer, to stay calm. He is very calm because he knows that they will get through this and believes that Starling will be stronger in the aftermath. Laurel's worried about shooting the arrow, so Oliver talks her through what to do. Laurel and Oliver embrace before they return above ground, where Slade's army is wreaking havoc. They are trapped in the train station and almost killed, but her father, Malcolm Merlin, shows up to save her. Laurel calls her dad and tells him that she is with the arrow. He wants her off the streets. They then meet up with Felicity and Dig. Felicity tells Oliver that the people at Star Labs have found a cure for the Mirakuru. Laurel leaves for the police station, whilst Team Arrow heads to find Felicity's friend. Slade dispatches a man to find and destroy the cure before Oliver can find it. Finally trusting Lance, the police force pledged to help the Arrow stop Slade's men, and Quentin is re-promoted detective to lead the other officers. However, the guy was in a car accident when Felicity calls him. Laurel splits from Oliver as he heads to meet the courier and she heads to the precinct. However, Slade, Sebastian, and Isabel happen to overhear the conversation. Quentin and the alive men are trying to come up with a plan. His boss is skeptical how to proceed and tells the men that the chief of police is dead. He then mentions calling the Arrow. His boss then makes a detective again, allowing him to lead the men. Laurel's almost ambushed by one of Slade's men, but is rescued by Sarah, who returns as the Canary. Laurel admits that she knows it's Sarah and hugs her sister. Sebastian Blade and Kate Spencer watch the news from his office until it's wrecked by one of the men who took the Mirakuru. He orders the man to stop, but his orders are refused, and Kate Spencer is killed. Oliver, Dick, and Felicity are driving around with Oliver thinking Theo was gone from town, when the Arrow gets a call from Quentin, inquiring if he needs any help. Oliver tells the detective that he needs the army contained. After they hang up, the van that they are in starts being followed by Slade's army, until one of them moves the car in front of it, causing a crash. They all survive, but are being surrounded by the men. Oliver kills two of them with an explosive arrow before carrying unconscious Felicity away. Theo runs from her father, who says that he is not there to hurt her. She lists the things that he has done, and he is apologetic, and explains that he is only worried for her safety. She wonders about how he is alive, and he says he heard about Moira and wanted to see if she was okay. Theo tells him that he is not her father and that she wants nothing to do with him, but Malcolm persists in his efforts to make her safe. Slade and Isabel watch the destruction of Starling from Queen Consolidated. He mentions wishing that Shadow were there to see this, which confuses her. Sebastian walks in, fears that so many innocent people are dying. Slade reveals to Sebastian that he plans to destroy the entire city, people and all, in his quest for vengeance against Oliver. Oof. Laura and Sarah find a police car, which is surrounded by dead bodies. Laura asks where her sister went, and Sarah doesn't explain. When asked why she came back, Sarah tells Laurel that there is nothing there for her, to which Laurel replies, "Your family's here." At this, the Canary removes the mask and the wig, and tells her sister that she is not a hero, but she is in fact the furthest thing from it. Laura tells her sister that these things don't break us, they make us who we are. Sarah still tries to say that she's a bad person by telling her about her new name in the League, but Laurel says that she isn't redeemable. She then asks about the name and what it meant. She then said that the Canary is a beautiful name. Sarah hugs her sister. Aww. Felicity calls her friend, who is still waiting for them at the scene of his car crash. Before they reach him, however, he is visited by one of Slade's men. They hear her screams down the phone. When they finally show up, the briefcase is gone and her friend is dead. Felicity, Dick, and Oliver head to the clock tower. Felicity says that there is no more of the cure, and Oliver is in despair that there is no other way of saving the city. He says they couldn't have imagined anything like this could have happened, and that he failed Starling City. Oliver goes on to list the people he has lost, and says that he is giving up. Felicity interrupts us with lists of the people he has beaten, and says that he can do this because she believes in him. Quentin goes to pick up Sarah and Laurel. While the girls await their father when they hear a woman screaming. The building before the woman explodes, and Quentin shows up. After it explodes again, the canary walks out holding the woman's daughter. Sarah then walks off. The mother asks who it was, and Laurel says, "That is the canary," with a smile. Thea continues to argue with her father. He fights with Slade's men, killing them, but getting injured himself. His daughter watches, alarmed. Oliver is surprised when Sebastian calls him. It tells him they stole the Mirakuru cure. Sebastian took the cure to the city hall. Felicity says goodbye to Oliver and Diggle because she's watching over Roy at the clock tower. Arriving at City Hall, Oliver moves the hood as he meets Sebastian. Blood relates a sob story, and he also says that Slade was going to kill whoever Oliver loved the most. And they gave the cure to Oliver in return for help saving the city, and promises trying to make Starling City better. Queen is confused as to why he thinks they'll let him be mayor, to which Rope replies that they don't know about his true identity, and if Oliver tells them, he'll reveal Oliver's true identity. Oliver and Diggle leave with the cure. Quentin and Laura embrace her at the police station when a female cop says that the canary is the bravest woman she has ever seen. Isabel finds Sebastian in his office without the cure and realizes he betrayed them. Isabel then kills Sebastian after Slade says, "Goodbye, Mr. Blood." Sebastian's last words are, "I loved this city." Felicity opens the briefcase to look at the tubes. As they're unsure if it works, Oliver wants to test it on Roy. The Lancers and the police watch the news down at the station, where they see that the army has finally arrived. However, they are stationed at the entrances of the city, which confuses them at first, until they realize that it isn't even the army. Oliver almost tests the cure on Roy to Felicity's distress, but can't go through with it. Quentin calls, telling them to turn on the television. Oliver recognizes that the troops are Argus and calls Amanda Waller. He tells her that he has a cure for it. However, Amanda will give him much time to save the town. She tells him that they plan to bomb the city at dawn in order to protect the country from Starling City. He then gives Roy the drug. Thea holds a gun up to her father, threatening to shoot him. He acknowledges that her eyes are like his, filled with pain and anger. Malcolm says that they are the same in the way that they have lost everything except each other. Before he can finish his sentence, she fires 2 bullets at him. There's a flashback to Oliver on the submarine. He knows that Sarah's gone, and Slade has taken her. Oliver says goodbye to Anatoly, who agrees to sink the ship within an hour if he and Sarah do not return. Oliver sneaks onto the ship and finds Sarah in his cell. He refuses to leave Slade behind because he injected him with a Mirakuru, and they are friends. Sarah refuses to leave without him. They break into Ivo's old lab, where they encounter Slade and 2 of his men. Slade holds the antidote in his hand. Dun dun dun. So now let's look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This is the second time that the penultimate episode of Season of Arrow shares the name of a Bruce Springsteen song, the 1978 song Streets of Fire. Overall, this current ongoing pattern has been repeated 5 times. The previous is Darkness on the Edge of Town, and the following are This Is Your Sword, Lost in the Flood, Missing, and The Ties That Bind. Streets of Fire also marks the second penultimate episode to be named after a song from Springsteen's album Darkness on the Edge of Town. The other being the title track that used as the title for the penultimate episode in the previous season. When Sarah saves a young girl in a burning building, Quentin requests Delta Charlie 52 on his radio. This may reference the DC New 52 comic series. When Sebastian calls Oliver near the end, asking to become his ally, Oliver taps on his phone twice. First to answer the call, and the second to turn off the voice modulator. And now finally, let's take a look at some goofs. Quentin looks at a door labeled Weapons and Ordnance Storage. Ordnance means a law, regulation, order, etc. The word that should be on the sign is ORDNANCE, which means military weapon, armor, etc. When Oliver climbs out of the rubble from when he blew up the ceiling, the rocks and chunks of concrete are clearly made of styrofoam, as they would slide and roll off one another without Oliver touching them. During Diggle's fight with Isabel, David Ramsey's stunt double is visible. Yeah, that's not good. So overall, I think this episode is actually pretty darn good, and I don't think Thea actually killed off Malcolm, but hey, we'll see what happens when I look at the season finale. So there you go. So overall, I give Streets of Fire 4 arrowheads out of 5. But anyway, tune in a bit as we take a look at the final episode of the season, Unthinkable. So until then, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city.